You have a comment? Or?
Yeah, Greg.
Greg.
Hi. So I just wanted to share this because I saw a video by a gentleman named Sadhguru a while back. Ties very much into what we're talking about tonight. And so I'm paraphrasing, but it was basically like, what is a tree? And he said, if you asked everybody in this room, what is a tree, I'd get a different definition for every one of you. However, to me, this is him talking now, a tree is part of me. It's the other half of my lungs. I breathe out the carbon dioxide, that tree breathes it in, it breathes out oxygen, I breathe that back in. And so he was giving that description, and then he said, so would I really need to tell you not to cut trees down and become an environmentalist? You wouldn't do that any more than you chop your own lung out. And it was just a whole different way of looking at it.
Why would he say that? Like, why would he say that?
Well, I took it as a teaching. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, as a teaching, but remember here that, when we talk about the ego, the mind-created self, that is also very separate, right? The ego always creates separation. The ego is always me and you, very separate identity, right? When you realize, a lot of times in Eastern philosophy, they talk a lot about Mandalas, and you see pictures of Mandalas. You know what a Mandala is? You know what I'm talking about? It's just a beautiful, very symmetric picture. And what it represents is the interconnectedness of everything. The ego thinks that the world revolves around it. But if we're seeing things clearly, we're realizing that we are just a part of a beautiful, interwoven, interdependent tapestry. And that's what that mandala represents. And so when you begin to realize, wait a minute, I am not separate from any of this. I give the trees oxygen, or carbon dioxide, and the trees give me back oxygen, and so forth. There's a real interdependency. And so if you want the world to be more conscious, then become conscious yourself. Why? Because you are part of the world. And as you become more conscious, the world becomes more conscious. There is nothing more profound you can do for the world than become conscious. And you will very naturally spend the rest of your time helping others become conscious.
Can I mention an experience I had yesterday?
Absolutely.
My roommate, I was cleaning the yard, and she says, after you're done cleaning, I'm going to get rid of these spider webs. And I thought, wow, I don't want to get rid of them. I think they're beautiful. And then I realized that's the difference between me and her. I'm awakened. I feel the connection. I don't want to destroy, but it was something that I realized the difference of awakening.
Yeah. Just be careful of those words like I am awakened and things like that. Like they will really, like your ego can sneak in the back door and hijack your spirituality, and you'll be running around going, oh, look at how spiritual I am. I really try to tone the spirituality down. I mean, I dress this way and set this up to form a context. When you walk in this room, you have a general idea of what it's about. But spirituality and awaken and things like that, the ego is really creeping in those things. And so you have to be very, very mindful of that. It's interesting. Along those lines, I saw a roach the other day, a big roach. Palmetto bug, right? And it was interesting. I walked up to it, and I saw it get scared. And I saw it contract and kind of look at me. And I had so much compassion for it, and I felt like, my God, this being is afraid. And usually with something like that, I will catch them and let them go outside. I don't like to kill things, anything, but it was interesting how I saw it get scared, and I was like, well, what's the difference between him and me? You know, what would I want somebody to do in this situation if I was the scared one? You know, and how do I treat the world? Do I treat the world the way that I want to be treated? You know, am I loving, kind, compassionate, and patient? Not in a mental way. You will find that loving kindness, compassion, and patience is just your natural state. And what gets in the way of that is the mind. Someone will say, "Oh, roaches, they're nasty, kill that thing, blah, blah, blah." I mean, sometimes we have to do things because it can be unhealthy, unsanitary. You know what I mean? But we don't always have. Lots of times we don't have to, you know? And you find that it so resonates with something inside you so deeply that when you're being, I mean, and listen, when you're in here, don't believe a word that I say. This is not about belief. All I'm doing is I am holding up, you know, some truths that I see, and I want you to hold it up to what you're experiencing and see if it helps make clear what you're experiencing. Now, if you're even mildly in tune with yourself, you're going to know when you're being loving, kind, compassionate, and patient, for no reason, without expecting anything back, because there's an egoic loving kindness, and then there's the heart-based loving kindness that's just giving. The difference is the heart-based loving kindness gives and realizes, you know, that the experience of giving is in and of itself its own reward. The egoic giving always wants something back. It's always giving to get.